Homework question from chapter 4 is number 9. In recent years, the government of Pakistan has established a support price for wheat of about 20 cents per kilogram of wheat. I find this a very strange sentence. Not only does he say wheat twice, it's expressed in the US dollar, and it's set in Pakistan. Furthermore, at least in the US, wheat is measured by the bushel, not by the metric volume, or weight. So, whatever. At this price, consumers are willing to purchase 10 billion kilograms of wheat per year, while Pakistani farmers are willing to grow and harvest 18 billion kilograms of wheat per year. The government purchases and stores all surplus wheat. Sounds exactly like the kind of stuff we've been talking about. What are the annual consumer expenditures on the Pakistani wheat crop? So, probably you won't be surprised to learn that I've drawn the model, even though we weren't prompted to draw the model. It just helps us see where these things are. It helps us to get this better than if I just told you, well, you take this and subtract this, or this and multiply this. I don't think you get it without the model to reinforce where those things are coming from. So, sorry, I have a mosquito trying to get me. So, we're imposing a price floor above the equilibrium price right about here of 20 cents. And at 20 cents, we now know we're going to have differing quantity supplied from quantity demanded. We're going to have excess supply or a surplus of this good, which is, by the way, wheat. Right? And he told us in that question, now I'm just going to fill these in, that the consumers were willing and able to purchase at 20 cents 10 units, but the farmers were willing and able to produce 18. So we can see that our surplus is what? 18 minus 10, 8 units, or 8 billion, or 8 tons, or 8 kilograms, right? 8 units. That's the surplus. But he asks in A how much the consumers are actually spending. Well, here we have the number that the consumers are buying, and they're buying them at that price. So for A, the consumers are spending 20 cents per unit times the 10 units. Oops, I said one thing, I wrote another. The 10 units, that is 2, what is my units? $2 billion is what they're spending, because these were 10 billion, and they're spending 20 cents each. So the consumers are spending 2 billion buying the wheat at the price floor price. Because at the price floor price, they're willing to buy 10 billion units of wheat. Then letter B is, what is the annual government expenditures on the Pakistani wheat crop? Well, what's the government spending? What are they buying? They're buying the surplus of 8 billion units of wheat, and they're buying it at 20 cents, right? So that's the 0.20 times the 8, and 0.20 times 8 is 1.6 billion. So they have to raise taxes to buy the 1.6 billion. And then letter C, this is where it's going to be fun. I mean, even more fun than what we've done so far. It's going to get really fun here in letter C. Just brace yourself. How much in total do Pakistani wheat farmers receive for the wheat they produce? Some of you are going to think this is wrong for a second, but just wait. Well, they're making this much, and they're getting paid this much each. So for letter C, at 20 cents per unit, they're producing 18 units. 0.2 times 18 is equal to 3.6 billion. So that's how much they receive. Now, you might be looking at this going, of course that's what they receive, because they get this much from the households and this much from the government, and notice 2 plus 1.6 is equal to 3.6. So we could do it by adding together what's being spent by the two parties who are buying wheat from the farmers, or we could do it with the numbers over here. One reason it's very appealing, I think, to look at this, what we could say is geometrically, that is on a graph, is because these computations that we've done here are also areas of shapes over here, which we're going to need to be familiar with as we go forward in the semester. Or if you take both micro and macro, you'll certainly need to be familiar with looking at these shapes, because what we're talking about is 10 times 0.2. Well, notice that's base times height. That's the area of this rectangle. The area of this rectangle is what consumers are purchasing, or the households are purchasing. The government is buying 8, this width, or this base, at 0.2. So the area of this rectangle is what the government expenditure is total. What are the farmers getting? The total rectangle. 20 times 18. So we could solve it geometrically. If we thought of these as rectangles, we could solve it by thinking through these prices and quantities. And then for the last one, we could solve it by thinking of it as the price or quantity, or the geometry of it over there, or being the sum of everything spent. I know in your, sociology classes, there aren't 2 or 3 nifty ways to look at whatever it is you're looking at and see the conclusion that you're supposed to be seeing by looking at it. There aren't 2 or 3 ways to see those things. I know, I've had those classes. You just can't beat this. I know.